सारी जिंदगी वो कहता रहा कि मेरी जहां मर्जी शादी हो जाए, वो जो फुफ्फो की बेटी है ना, वो जो अजीब सी लगती है, ला हौला वला कुव्वत, मैंने कभी उससे शादी नहीं करवानी। और आज माशाल्लाह उन्हीं के साथ उनकी शादी हुई, बच्चे भी हैं, वही उनको अच्छी भी लगती है। तो जो चीज़ आपको ज़िंदगी में अच्छी नहीं लगती ना, वो बाज़ का सामने गले पड़ जाती है, फिर आप कहेंगे अच्छा ये हाँ तो हंस तबाह, वो क्या रोके दिखाए आपको? अब दुनिया को तमाशा थोड़ी दिखाना है, ठीक है ना। जो जितना हंस रहा होता है ना, वो उतना ही बेचारा फंसा होता है, ठीक है। लेकिन ये मुझ पे नहीं अप्लाई होता। और मैं तो नेचुरल हंसता हूँ, देखें ये है एग्जैक्टली। चलें आगे चलते हैं। ऑलराइट, अच्छा समूह बनाएं, मम्मी को छाम करें, पालीची बिल्ली बन के दिखाओ। ये हंसते हंसते आपका आइल्स हो जाना है। जो सीरियस हो गया ना, जो नेगेटिव फीलिंग्स में आ गया ना, वो कभी उससे बाहर नहीं निकलेगा, ठीक है। वो ये सोचता रहेगा पता नहीं होना है नहीं होना, होना है नहीं होना। मैं कह रहा हूँ आप इसकी फ्रीक्वेंसी बढ़ाएं, टेस्ट पे टेस्ट करें, हर क्वेश्चन को फोकस करें, आपकी इंग्लिश भी इंप्रूव होगी और आइल्स आसान हो जाएगा आपके लिए, ठीक है। डोंट वरी। Okay, already started. So part 4, complete the notes below, write one word only. So whatever you lose in part 3, you have a golden opportunity in part 4 to get it back. Sometimes 4 questions, sometimes one type of questions can be quite irritating for you. But don't leave any blank on your answer sheet. Especially when it is ABC or anything like that, don't leave any blank. Now, for example, we did questions 27, 28, 29, 30. If you write all your answers A, B, A, B, one answer and one answer there will be right, okay? So don't worry about that. But now, part 1 and part 4, in part 4, there is always a lecture. And there are 10 questions and the audio goes on very smoothly and answer is one word only. So in part 1 and part 4 you can get 20 by 20 and you can miss some answers in part 3, that's all right, but again in part 2 you can get better answers. Now let's make a start. One word only, elephant translocation, right? Elephant translocation. Who said transgender? No, translocation. You're talking about elephants, okay? So elephant's translocation. Now, even if you don't understand what is elephant translocation, they will tell us in the audio. I mean, if it is a terminology, they have actually done something with elephants and there is a terminology, they will elaborate that, okay? Read now, see that there are so many bullet points without question. What does that mean? That means you have to listen to the audio patiently. And in part 4, there is a technique that I tell the students, I call it signposting. Signposting means you are going along the audio. You should know where the audio has reached on question booklet. Because if you know where the audio has reached, when the answer will come, you can easily write the answer. For example, now, you don't need to read everything, just underline laws. Can you see laws? Underline. When they talk about laws, audio is there. Now, problems caused by elephant overpopulation. Underline problems, right, and overpopulation. Now, underline hunger. And in the audio, and by the way, you know, they are so mean. I'm sorry. The IELTS people, they are so mean. Where there is no question, they will not change the language. Everything will be discussed in the same way. Where there is the question, इनको मौत पड़ती है वहाँ पे. There they change the wording and all that, okay? So when they say hunger, you have to be alert because in the next bullet point, there is your answer. So one problem is hunger. Second is damage. Underline the word damage. To dash in park. Now, damage to something which is found in the park, right? Now, it can be anything. Now, for damage, they can use any other word. What can be the other word? Damage, harm, destroy, or anything like that, right? So that thing is found in the park. Damage to something which is found in the park. Let's see. And wait for the answer to come patiently.
Part 4.
2-minute audio.
You will hear a zoology student giving a presentation on the process of moving wild elephants to a new reserve, known as translocation.
For my presentation today, I want to tell you about how groups of elephants have been moved and settled in new reserves. This is known as translocation and has been carried out in Malawi in Africa in recent years. The reason this is being done is because of overpopulation of elephants in some areas. Overpopulation is a good problem to have, and not one we tend to hear about very often. In Malawi's Majeti National Park, the elephant population had been wiped out by poachers, who killed the elephants for their ivory. But in 2003, the park was restocked and effective law enforcement was introduced. Since then, not a single elephant has been poached. In this safe environment, the elephant population boomed. Breeding went so well that there were more elephants than the park could support. This led to a number of problems. Firstly, there was more competition for food, which meant that some elephants were suffering from hunger. As there was a limit to the amount of food in the national park, some elephants began looking further afield. Elephants were routinely knocking down fences around the park, which then had to be repaired at a significant cost.
Fences. And what is the word for damage? Knocking down. Now write it down there. Underline the word damage and write there knock down. Knock down something means gira dena. So knocking down fences. And do you know what the fence is? Yeah, jangla, bar, whatever you want to say. Fences will be the right answer. And the audio went for a long time. Just listen to this last part again.
More than 24 elephants have been bought.
Part 4.
Last part.
You will hear
This, as there was a limit to the amount of food in the national park, some elephants began looking further afield. Elephants were routinely knocking down fences.
Elephants were routinely knocking down fences
around the park.
Around the park. For in the, they use the word around the. For damage, they use the word knocking down. And answer is fences. In part 4, they always do something like this. Fence, F-E-N-C-E. And plural answer, fences. But if you write singular, they will accept that. Fences. Okay, now let's go on. We've got question number 32 onwards. The translocation process, suitable group of elephants from the same dash, now underline same, was selected. Suitable groups of elephants from the same dash. Now same, for same they may use the word similar. Commonly they use the word similar. For example, same group. Similar group, right? So, let's see.
So, how did this translocation process work in practice? Elephants were moved in groups of between 8 and 20, all belonging to one family.
Wow. Good. Now, please underline same and write there one. For same, they use the word one, and answer is family. Very good. See, this is learning. That you focused same in the question booklet and one in the audio. One family, same family. Let's go on. Vets and park staff made use of. Vet means animal doctor. Vet and park staff, they made use of something to help guide the elephant. So what is it that they used to help guide the elephants into an open plain? So they used something, a tool or a weapon or something, yeah.
Because relationships are very important to elephants, they all had to be moved at the same time. A team of vets and park rangers flew over the park in helicopters and targeted a group, which were rounded up and directed to a designated open plain.
Helicopters. Now listen, for made use of, they use the word flew over the park in helicopters. So flew over the park means they use the, because elephants are afraid of helicopters. So they actually flew and the elephants were afraid and they came to one place. Answer is, how do you spell? Yeah, helicopter. Please listen to this one again.
Because relationships are very important to elephants, they all had to be moved at the same time. A team of vets and park rangers flew over the park in helicopters.
Okay, team of vets and park rangers. For staff, they use the word rangers. Flew in a helicopter. So that is the right answer. Now let's go on. Next bullet point is elephants were immobilized with tranquilizers. Like these are some sort of injections they give them, and then the elephants are unconscious, right? This process means using tranquilizers to immobilize the elephants had to be completed quickly to reduce, underline reduce. Now answer will come after the synonym of reduce, to minimize, to decrease, to bring down, anything like that, and then there will be the answer. Now listen carefully when they talk about tranquilizers, immobile, and all that.
The vets then used darts to immobilize the elephants. This was a tricky maneuver, as they not only had to select the right dose of tranquilizer for different sized elephants, but they had to dart the elephants as they were running around. This also had to be done as quickly as possible, so as to minimize the stress caused.
All right, minimize. For reduce, the word is minimize, and answer is stress. Well done. Question number 35. Elephants had to be turned on their. Now this is going to be part of body. Elephants had to be turned on their trunk, feet, belly, whatever. Elephants had to be turned on their to avoid damage to their lungs. So elephants had to be turned on something to avoid damage to their lungs. Whose lungs? Elephants' lungs.
As soon as the elephants began to flop onto the ground, the team moved in to take care of them. To avoid the risk of suffocation, the team had to make sure none of the elephants were lying on their chests, because their lungs could be crushed in this position. So, all the elephants had to be placed on their sides.
All the elephants had to be placed on their sides. जैसे पहले बोला ना वो शाम की फ्लाइट से कनाडा चला जाएगा. Okay? Be careful. You have to wait till the end of the audio to decide. And by the way, the question is elephants had to be turned on their something to avoid damage to their lungs. So first they talked about breathing, but now they talked about lungs. Let's play this one again.
As soon as the elephants began to flop onto the ground, the team moved in to take care of them. To avoid the risk of suffocation, the team had to make sure none of the elephants were lying on their chests.
Okay, suffocation. None of the elephants were lying on their chest. That was for suffocation. Now you cannot say, suffocation and lung, same thing. No, you got to listen, right? Next.
Because their lungs could be crushed in this position.
Yeah.
So, all the elephants had to be placed on their sides.
Okay, all the elephants had to be placed on their sides. Answer is sides, to avoid damage to their lungs. Elephants dash. Now apostrophe S. Apostrophe S is usually replaced with OF off or anything like that. For example, elephant's trunk of the elephant, like that. Elephant's dash had to be monitored constantly. Now something related to elephant had to be monitored constantly. Blood pressure, pulse, heart rate, whatever, right? Now, if you understand what's happening. Now, if you imagined elephants lying on the floor, if you imagine they were darting the elephant, dart means they have that injection in the gun. So they dart the elephant like that. Then you can understand things better.
One person stayed with each elephant while they waited for the vets to do checks. It was very important to keep an eye on their breathing.
It was very important to keep an eye on their breathing. For elephants, they use the word their. And answer is breathing. How do you spell breathing? T-H-I-N-G, right? To keep an eye. Keep an eye means monitored. Keep an eye and monitor. So listen, IELTS listening, IELTS reading, it's just a game of synonyms. If you know these synonyms, you'll find the answer. Otherwise, answers will come and fly. So listen to this part.
It was very important to keep an eye on their breathing. If there were fewer than 6 breaths per minute, the elephant would need urgent medical attention.
Okay. Question number 37, data. It's all about data. Data including size of their tusks and dash was taken. Now data including the size of their tusk. Tusk is what? It's the part of elephant body. With tusk, another part of elephant body will be the answer. So whatever they say, not only tusk but also, or the size of their tusk and, the size of their tusk and trunk, or trunk as well, right? So answer will come with tusk, before or after.
Collars were fitted to the matriarch in each group so their movements could be tracked in their new home. Measurements were taken of each elephant's tusks. Elephants with large tusks would be at greater risk from poachers and also of their feet.
Yeah, and also of their feet. Tusk is their teeth of the elephant. So also their feet. Yeah. Okay, let's go on. Last few questions. Advantage of translocation at Wildlife Park. It's the name of the park. Dash opportunities. Underline the word opportunities. And for opportunities, they can use any other word, right? Dash opportunities. What opportunities? And it's one word only. Create opportunities, provide opportunities, give opportunities, or it can be the type of opportunities, right? So,
one person stayed with each elephant while they waited for the vets to do checks. It was very important to keep an eye on their breathing. If there were fewer than... The elephants were then taken to a recovery area before being loaded onto trucks and transported to their new home. The elephants translocated to Nkotakota settled in very well, and the project has generally been accepted to have been a huge success, and not just for the elephants. Employment prospects have improved enormously, contributing...
Employment prospects have improved enormously. For opportunities, they use the word prospects. Prospects. Job opportunities, job prospects. Employment opportunities, employment prospects. So answer is employment. Very good. Just listen to this last part where they say this.
Yes, and not just for the elephants. Employment prospects have improved enormously.
Okay, employment...
Contributing to rising living standards.
Okay, for opportunities, the word is prospects. Okay, a reduction in the number of poachers. Poachers are people who kill elephants for their tusk, right, for their ivory. A reduction in the number of poachers and, now, poachers and someone like that, right? It's going to be another person. Reduction. So there is reduction in number of poachers and something else. And that is also the part of reduction.
Poaching is no longer an issue, as former poachers are able to find more reliable sources of income. In fact, many of them volunteered to give up their weapons, as they were no longer of any use to them.
Weapons, not weapons, okay? Reduction in the number of poachers, and they actually surrendered their weapons. W-E-A-P-O-N-S. Please listen to this part again.
Poaching is of income. In fact, many of them volunteered to give up their weapons.
Many of them volunteered to give up their weapons. Give up their weapons mean they gave their weapons, right?
as they were no longer of any use to them.
Okay, they were no longer any use to them. The last thing is increase in dash as a contributor to GDP. So increase in something and it is a contributor to GDP. Increase, focus the word increase.
More than 24 elephants have been born at Nkotakota since relocation. With an area of more than 1,800 square kilometres, there's plenty of space for the elephant population to continue to grow. Their presence is also helping to rebalance Nkotakota's damaged ecosystem and providing a sustainable conservation model which could be replicated in other parks. All this has been a big draw for tourism, which contributes 5 times more than the illegal wildlife.
Tourism, 5 times more. Increase in tourism. Tourism will be the right answer, okay?